Medea, would you speak to us about the international situation?
My name is Medea Benjamin. I'm with Code Pink. I wrote this book on drone warfare and have been traveling a lot around the country giving long presentations, and I'm not going to do that this morning. In fact, I think because it's a workshop, we assume this is a group that knows a lot about the issue and that we're going to talk about what we can do. And it's really great that Dave, who's coming next, is going to do a presentation on domestic issues, because I think when we talk about how we're going to get more Americans involved in it, it's unfortunate but probably very true that most Americans don't care very much that we are killing poor people of color in countries thousands of miles away. They go with this government line that these are evil people and so they deserve to be killed. But they are more concerned about their privacy rights here at home. And the fact that we're able to tie these two issues together gives us the possibility of having more of a broad reach. I think with the latest scare around Yemen and Al-Qaeda attacks, it is an attempt to tamp down this movement and the excitement that had been building among a lot of us that there was going to be a wake-up call among the American people that your government is indeed Big Brother and we better do something about it. These kinds of periodic things will be happening where our government will be kind of saying, but we need to be Big Brother, we need to surveil the whole world, and we need to surveil you at home. So it is an interesting moment to be having this discussion. In terms of how the drones are being used overseas and what we might expect in the future, it's unclear. On the one hand, you have the powerful drone lobby, the industry, their congressional buddies in the drone caucus, the CIA, the Pentagon, and the war machine that wants to keep using these drones. And there is a big push to continue using them in Afghanistan long after the troops are gone. In fact, if you look at the latest statistics before they were scrubbed from the Pentagon website, it was pretty remarkable to see the tremendous increase in the number of drone strikes between just 2011 and 2012, when it jumped up from 294 to 506. But in the case of Pakistan and Afghanistan, it's been the opposite trend. The number of drone strikes has actually been going down. And I think that is a product of the local people and complaining about it and our movement building up. And the focus being now on what was a covert program that our government thought and was successful in not talking about for so many years, suddenly having to justify the program and suddenly having to be a little bit more careful about who was being killed. So you see since 2010 the numbers going down just when our movement is starting to build up. But yet, as happens in these kind of things, there are waves, and we're now in a wave where there's been a lot of drone strikes in the last 2 weeks in Yemen. In fact, 5 just in the last 2 weeks. And not only that, for the first time ever in Yemen, there are drones that are buzzing in the capital city. I mean, that's quite remarkable, because usually they're way off in the hinterlands. This is in the capital. And then there have been more drone strikes in Pakistan in July than had been the case in all the previous months. So it's not clear where the government is going, and I would say it's a reflection of divisions within our government. And we should, when we talk about what we can do, include this in our discussion of where can we take advantage of the divisions within our own government. I think you have people in the State Department who are saying, wait a minute, this isn't making us friends, winning hearts and minds, we gotta stop this and do something else. I think there are people in the military that are saying the CIA is out of control. Why do we have all these drones in the hands of the CIA? They don't know how to use them. They're on a killing spree. We got to rein them in. Then there are people within the military as well who are saying this isn't really helping us. We got to rethink this policy. So we should find some allies in places in government. And then in terms of what is happening within the movement, I think there are supposed to be some things happening in the fall at the UN. There is a study being done by someone named Ben Emerson, the special rapporteur on extrajudicial killings, and his report is supposed to be coming out in the fall. We're a little concerned about how good it's going to be because he never made it to Yemen, and he did say some positive things about John Brennan when John Brennan's hearings were coming up to be confirmed for the head of the CIA, John Brennan, the mastermind of the drone program. And there's tremendous pressure on him and on the UN in general by the US government. But that is supposed to be a study to see has the US committed war crimes with these drones. And there are people that are constitutional lawyers that say that's very much the case, especially the use of what's called double taps when they send in one round of Hellfire missiles and then afterwards send in a second round, and that's killed a lot of rescue workers. In terms of other things going on within our government, I forgot to mention that there had been talk that there would be a ban on what's called signature strikes. Those are separate from the strikes where you're going after an individual, you know their name and you're looking for them. It's the kind of strike where a lot more people are killed because it's just based on suspicious behavior. And there was a hint of that in President Obama's speech that he gave at the National Defense University, but he didn't come right out and say it. And now there are anonymous people in the US administration that said that they are pulling the plug on the signature strikes, and yet the strikes, as I said, in the last 2 weeks have gone up. So we're not sure what's going on in the government, but we do know that there is a lot of dissent on all kinds of levels. And Joe said that on the one hand, there are polls that say a majority of Americans think drone strikes are just fine and dandy when you use them overseas to kill terrorist suspects. That has gone down by 20% in the last year, and that's a significant drop in the polls. So it went from 83% to maybe 62%. And I think that is reflected in the government's rethinking of how we're going to use these drones. On the other hand, you have the tremendous push by the lobby to portray drones as one, yes, they're precise and they kill only the bad guys, but also to try to make the word drone be a positive word. They have realized that we have been successful in making drones kind of the equivalent of sweatshops. Just, something you see and you say, yeah, I don't like that. And we have joined the drone lobby, paid our money, got our dues, and get their propaganda. And they say that they, need to spend lots and lots of money on trying to. First, they said our strategy is to not use the word drone and get people out of the habit of using the word drone. They're unmanned aerial systems. And they even have the nerve, the head of the lobby group, to interrupt Senator Leahy at one of the congressional hearings when he said drones and say, we don't use that word drone, we use, and Leahy said, excuse me, I think we'll use whatever word we want and we're going to call them drones. So after spending a lot of money on the lobby to say, okay, get them not to use the word drone, now they're trying to recover the term drone by putting out all this propaganda about all the positive things that drones can do. They can find your elderly grandfather walking through the woods with Alzheimer's and is completely lost. And kill him. They didn't say that. They say that the environmental groups are really excited about tracking the whales and getting the whalers and getting the illegal loggers. And frankly, a lot of that is true. And so we do have to recognize there is a whole community out there that is really fascinated by this technology and thinking of all the positive uses there could be of this technology. And so when they had a press conference at the National Press Club to talk about drones, they went on for maybe an hour with all these wonderful uses of drones and never even mentioned that anybody is getting killed with drones, which of course was up to us to stand up and remind the group there that is what is actually driving this whole industry, is the military part of it. So I think the drone industry recognizes that they have to rehabilitate themselves, and we will be seeing a lot more of these wonderful stories of people who have been rescued and whales that have been saved and other kinds of things. On the other hand, we are trying to find more ways to humanize the victims of the drone program. And so one of the things we're trying to do is bring their stories here, trying to bring some of the drone victim families themselves here. It's a hard thing because the US doesn't tend to give out visas for people from Yemen and the tribal areas of Pakistan. So it's going to be a campaign just to do that, and I wanted to pass around the sign-up sheet. If you will sign on, that would be great, because we're going to need people to do things like contact the State Department and say, give a visa to these people. We want to hear what they have to say. There's also, at the UN session, we're trying to get some drone victims to be able to go to the UN. There's a couple of new documentaries that will be coming out about drones that we're hoping will actually help to humanize this issue. And then November 16th and 17th in Washington, D.C., we're going to have a drone summit. It's the second one. Anybody here come to the first one? So it was great, right? It was really, really good. And this one's going to be even better. Now we have drone operators, the pilots and the analysts who are going to come, who have left their positions and talk about what it was like to be a remote control pilot.
Dates in November?
November 16th and 17th, Washington, D.C., Georgetown Law School. You can sign up online. And we're also going to have people from Afghanistan, Pakistan, Yemen, and some of the best constitutional lawyers in the country, and all kinds of cultural manifestations of drones, because I think that's where we can also make a lot of headway to get this to young people and to the community at large through song, through getting some of the Hollywood artists to be incorporating drones into some of their work. And there's a lot of really cool things going on about that, including a line of clothing you might have heard of, which is supposed to protect you from being seen by drones. So we will have a fashion show as well. So anyway, look forward to a discussion, and now Dave will talk to us about the domestic use of drones. Thank you.